For centuries, Christianity has been more than just a religion in Jamaica. It's been a tool of control, a weapon used to shackle not just bodies but minds. What if everything you thought you knew about God, Jesus, and the Bible was a carefully crafted deception, designed to keep you in chains? What if the real path to freedom lies not in obedience to an external savior, but in the discovery that divinity resides within you? This is the truth they never wanted you to know. Join us as we unravel the greatest deception in history and reveal how Jamaica is breaking free from the spiritual chains that have bound the Jamaican people for generations. Jamaica, a small yet powerful island nation, has a deep and rich history of resistance and resilience. Its people have long been influenced by various forms of spirituality and religious beliefs, but perhaps no religion has had a more lasting and controversial impact on Jamaica than Christianity. From its introduction by European colonizers to its use as a tool to justify slavery, Christianity has been both a source of hope and an instrument of control. This documentary aims to reveal the truth about God, Jesus, and how religion has been used to manipulate and control the minds of the Jamaican people for centuries. The arrival of Christianity in Jamaica. Christianity first arrived in Jamaica in 1494 when Christopher Columbus claimed the island for Spain. However, it wasn't until the British captured Jamaica in 1655 that Protestant Christianity became the dominant religion. The Anglican Church, or Church of England, was established as the official state church, and it was during the British colonial period that Christianity became a key instrument of control over the enslaved African population. In the early 18th century, as the transatlantic slave trade brought more Africans to Jamaica to work on sugar plantations, Christianity became a way for the British colonizers to justify their actions. Missionaries were sent to the island with the purpose of converting enslaved Africans to Christianity. This conversion, however, came with a caveat. It was not intended to liberate the enslaved, but to pacify and control them. Using the Bible as a tool for control. Colonial powers used selective readings of the Bible to reinforce the institution of slavery. Verses like Ephesians 6:5, "Slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, and with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ," were preached to the enslaved population. Christianity was molded to fit the agenda of the colonizers, teaching enslaved Africans that their suffering was part of God's divine plan, and that their reward for obedience would come in the afterlife. The Anglican Church became a powerful tool for mental control over the enslaved population. In 1671, the Jamaican Assembly enacted laws that required the baptism of enslaved people, which was believed to instill in them a sense of loyalty to their Christian masters. By associating Christianity with submission and obedience, the colonizers ensured that the enslaved population would be less likely to rebel. Religion became a mental shackle as powerful as any physical chains, binding the people to the will of their masters. The resistance, Afro-Christianity, and spiritual rebellion. Despite the efforts of the colonial authorities to control the minds of the enslaved through Christianity, many Africans in Jamaica resisted. Over time, they blended African spiritual practices with Christian teachings to create a new form of spirituality, known as Afro-Christianity. This fusion of African and Christian beliefs allowed enslaved Africans to retain a sense of their own identity while adopting the outward symbols of Christianity. Movements such as revivalism and pocomania emerged as forms of Afro-Christianity. These spiritual practices incorporated drumming, dancing, and chanting, all of which were deeply rooted in African traditions. While these movements outwardly accepted Christian symbols and teachings, they also represented a form of spiritual rebellion against the colonial powers. Afro-Christianity allowed the enslaved population to reclaim some control over their own spiritual lives, even in the face of overwhelming oppression. One of the most significant uprisings inspired by Afro-Christianity was the Baptist War of 1831 to 1832, also known as the Christmas Rebellion. This rebellion was led by Samuel Sharp, a Baptist preacher and deacon who believed that the teachings of the Bible could be used to justify the end of slavery. Sharp organized a peaceful strike among enslaved workers on plantations in the western part of Jamaica, demanding better working conditions and wages. When the strike was met with violence from the colonial authorities, it quickly escalated into a full-scale rebellion. Although the rebellion was brutally suppressed, with Sharp being executed in 1832, it had a profound impact on the abolitionist movement in Jamaica. Just 2 years later, in 1834, slavery was officially abolished in the British Empire, including Jamaica. Post-emancipation Christianity and continued control. Even after the abolition of slavery in 1834, Christianity continued to play a role in controlling the Jamaican population. The church remained a powerful institution, often working hand-in-hand with the colonial government to maintain social order. Missionary schools were established across the island to civilize and educate the newly freed population. However, these schools often promoted European values and discouraged African cultural practices, further embedding the idea that Christianity and European civilization were superior. During the 19th and 20th centuries, the majority of Jamaicans continued to adhere to Christianity, with the Anglican Church, Baptists, and Methodists being the most prominent denominations. The teachings of the church still emphasized submission to authority and the idea that suffering in this life would be rewarded in the next. Christianity remained a means of pacifying the population and preventing widespread unrest. Rastafarianism, a rejection of colonial Christianity. In the 1930s, a new religious movement emerged in Jamaica that directly challenged the mental chains imposed by colonial Christianity, Rastafarianism. Rastafarians rejected the teachings of mainstream Christianity, particularly the portrayal of Jesus as a white European figure. Instead, they identified Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia as the true Messiah and embraced a more Afrocentric worldview. Leonard Howell, one of the early leaders of the Rastafarian movement, preached that black Jamaicans should reject the religion of their colonial oppressors and embrace their African heritage. Howell's teachings called for the rejection of European values and the adoption of an independent, self-sufficient lifestyle. Rastafarians viewed the Bible not as a tool of oppression, but as a text that had been misinterpreted by colonizers to maintain control over black people. The rise of Rastafarianism marked a significant shift in the religious landscape of Jamaica. For the first time, a large number of Jamaicans were openly rejecting the teachings of colonial Christianity and reclaiming their spiritual autonomy. Rastafarianism emphasized the divinity within each individual, teaching that people did not need an external religious institution to mediate their relationship with God. This idea of personal divinity challenged the long-held belief that people were inherently sinful and in need of salvation from an external savior. The modern-day religious landscape in Jamaica. Today, Jamaica remains a predominantly Christian country, with more than 60% of the population identifying as Protestant. However, the influence of Rastafarianism and other Afrocentric spiritual practices continues to grow. Many Jamaicans are beginning to question the religious teachings that have been passed down for generations, seeking a deeper understanding of their spiritual identity beyond the confines of organized religion. The control that Christianity once held over the minds of Jamaicans is slowly being eroded as more people explore alternative spiritual paths. The idea that God is an external figure who must be obeyed is being replaced by the belief that divinity resides within each individual. This shift in consciousness represents a breaking free from the mental chains that have bound the Jamaican people for centuries. Breaking free, reclaiming spiritual autonomy. As we explore the truth about God, Jesus, and religion's control over Jamaica, it becomes clear that the mental and spiritual enslavement imposed by colonial Christianity is slowly being undone. More and more Jamaicans are breaking free from the religious indoctrination that has shaped their beliefs for generations, reclaiming their spiritual autonomy and embracing the idea that they are gods in their own right. The journey to spiritual freedom is ongoing, but the seeds of resistance planted by figures like Samuel Sharp and Leonard Howell continue to grow. The truth about God and religion's control over Jamaica is being revealed, and as people awaken to their own divinity, the chains that have held them for centuries are finally beginning to break. If you found this documentary insightful, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos. We'll continue to explore the untold truths about religion, spirituality, and the journey to mental and spiritual freedom. Don't miss out. Join the conversation and help uncover the truths that have been hidden for too long.